Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to whoever it is in the world you are streaming here on Twitter, as well as those of you on YouTube. Happy Monday, 3:14 p.m. Pacific Time, Monday, March 30th. Another gorgeous day here in Southern California, and another Q&A with Wob. As we stumble down the stretch they come in the final weeks of the NBA regular season. Trying to get through this. The playoffs are going to be great. The playoffs will be very good. They were great last year, and I think they will be great this year too. There's a ton of talent, but it will be a different sport compared to the regular season. That is for sure. I saw a stat from Tim Reynolds earlier that this is, we just had our 31st 30-point blowout of the season, which is now the most in NBA history for a single regular season campaign. So, once we get through this, I think we'll be back for a couple of months, and then we'll go into a very busy offseason, which is going to have one of the most stacked drafts, as well as LeBron's free agency, see what happens with the anti-tanking legislation that drops. There's a lot of Summer League will be awesome. Summer League is going to be so stacked. So a lot to look forward to. It's just the last couple weeks of March and beginning of April in the NBA is brutal every year. Chat is here. What's up, Helwick? Jeffrey Epelstein says, you never follow me back, maybe because your name is Jeffrey Epstein. What's up, Coach Mike? Carter's in the chat, says, wonder which game the last Sunday of the season will actually have meaning. Could potentially have some seeding implications. What's best is when the 6 and the 7 are still in flux because the team is trying to get out of the play-in tournament. I haven't looked ahead to see if there's any major matchups, but usually you get there's 15 total games, and 3 of the 15 matter against 2 teams that are playing for something. The others are usually a team that needs to win against a tanking team, and they're going to be 20-point favorites. So I'd say 3 to 4, without even looking at the schedule, are likely going to matter. But what's at stake? Because now the Celtics have a 3-loss lead on the Knicks with only 1 heads-up game remaining. And it seems like the Celtics, once again, are going to finish the 2, the Knicks the 3, and we're just going to run back what happened last year. Okay? Fast forward to that. On the other side of the Eastern Conference bracket, you're going to have the Pistons as the 1. We don't know what's up with Cade. I would assume the Cavs are going to come out of the 4-5 matchup. And then Cavs-Pistons without a healthy Cade is an interesting conversation. In the West, every team is going to be maneuvering to face the Rockets in the first round. I would say the Thunder can't. The Thunder can't do anything. The Spurs can't do anything. 3, 4, and 5 should be doing everything within their powers to play the Rockets. And the Lakers, obviously, their most ideal matchup is against Houston. So seeing them maneuver around and they have to win to get there is different than years past where we've seen the Clippers lose trying to get onto the other side of the bracket. And then the play-in tournament teams, honestly, they all suck. There's not a single team in the play-in tournament that I would consider to have legitimate championship ambition. What is going on with Jay Nivey? Okay. Bart Slimy in the chat. Jay Nivey. So did he say some shit on like Instagram? I know he's been going on some religious diatribes lately, but other than that, did he just say something that was Kyrie Irving-esque? The difference is you're not Kyrie Irving and you can be instantly waived. Kyrie's too good. You have to think about it first. But, yeah, I would assume. And wasn't he talking wild about Detroit? Something tells me he's got something going on upstairs, which I'm not in a rush to like make fun of him or call him out for. But get back to the Hawks questions in just a second. Sorry. What's up, Sam? Says he was ranting on IG about gospel and mentioned LGBTQ people weren't righteous or something along those lines. Yeah, that'll do it. Slimy says Jay Nivey was spreading the gospel and said LGBTQ pride is a sin. He actually said it's a sin. Oh, that'll do it. Yikes. We don't need to spend too much time on that, but it's obviously behavior that if you're not good enough could get you exiled very quickly. People are entitled to believe what they want to believe, but the NBA team is also entitled to waive you whenever they want. So you're representative of a business and a brand. I was like, gosh. So Detroit got back. Was that the Kevin Huerter trade? Okay, they at least got Kevin Huerter out of that. That's a bummer. Still think the Pistons should have gotten Kobe White, but a conversation for another day. Okay, let me go back to the basketball questions because I don't want this to get too ridiculous. Again, believe what I'm not gonna try and convince you what you shouldn't believe. Just remember, if you are an employee of a business, that you do represent them, and if they don't consider your values to be in line with theirs, they will find a way to get rid of you. That's just the reality of the society we live in. Atlanta at Miami will matter. Oh, in the play-in tournament? Atlanta's the only team that could maybe win a first-round series coming out of the play-in tournament. They're good. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker's might steal most improved player from Jalen Duren. Addition by subtraction, I might say, with that Trae Young trade, because it has just unleashed Jalen Johnson, Nickeil, and CJ McCollum. Their usage pretty well balanced. They just don't have a big man. They rely so much on Jock Landale, so much to spell those Okongwu minutes, and Okongwu's undersized to begin with. But I'm sorry, D. Vandenberg, I can't sign off on them being a legitimate threat. They're going to have to play Boston in the first round. Well, can find out tonight because they were hanging around in Boston, but Boston pulled away late, similarly to the Thunder, what they just did against the Knicks. I told you guys in a previous show, my biggest pending future bet right now is cooking. I have Atlanta to win the division at 11-1 for a shit ton. So I was watching that Sixers-Hornets game because the Hornets are pretty much the last threat to the Hawks in that division. Boy, did the Sixers need that game. Tyrese Maxey is so good, so fast, that throwdown dunk on Miles Bridges. And I was steaming when Paul George didn't send the ball down the floor in the final seconds. Ended up missing that first free throw, of course. End of game situationship. Steve says, if you're Denver or Minnesota, is avoiding OKC in round 2 more important than getting the Rockets in round 1? No. You cannot look ahead to round 2. Every Western Conference's team's initiative is find a way to play the Rockets in the first round. Does that mean we now have to play OKC in the second round as opposed to the conference finals? You got the Spurs, you got OKC. It's going to be a difficult task regardless. Chat's busy. Sorry, I'm scrolling all these comments here. Super Slimy says Kevin Huerter is a DEI hire. Oh, okay. I guess I don't have to read every comment. Simon says, Cash, all I know is the Raptors are looking like a true potential Cinderella story and get all the way to the finals. Quick side note. While everyone was busy watching Duke hilariously collapse, the Toronto Raptors rattled off a 31-0 run. 31-0 against the Orlando Magic. 31-0 in the NBA. That's a type of run you would see one of those dominant UConn teams against Albany in a 116 matchup. The NBA 31-0. I am so far, like, Magic fans are not going to want to hear it, but I am so far off the reservation in regards to Paolo. He's a dynamic talent, but he cannot be the best scorer on a championship team. He's going to have to learn how to to embrace a Robin role. I just can't trust a guy ever that refuses to shoot from the perimeter. He is a beast. He is athletic. He is talented and skilled. But that offense is a brutal watch with him having high usage like that. What else was I saying? Oh, the 31-0 run. It just like kept fucking happening and happening and happening. But Toronto's problem is they are a brutal matchup, meaning unfavorable matchup for Toronto. The Knicks are going to sweep them. They've crushed them all regular season. They have too much size. Boston, well, Detroit's size is going to annihilate them too. I guess Boston would somehow be the most ideal matchup because they're more perimeter oriented against what Toronto does well with their plethora of wing options. But yeah, Toronto's going to have to play Cleveland in the first round. Sorry, I can't get there. Can the Magic fire Mosley already? He'll be hired in 2 seconds by someone like New Orleans, probably. 2 seconds. Simon says, I always come to your live and mention the Raps to hear 2 cents on my squad. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, the team is legitimate, like, playoff team. I just think they're going to struggle without their true center position being addressed in years now. They are thin up front, and boy, do you need to rebound in the playoffs when everything's in the half-court set. It is a different sport, man. It is a different sport. You know, my radio partner Antonio brought up a good point today because he's lived in the NBA, or he played in the NBA for 13 years. He's been commentating, doing play-by-play and analyst work, TV for, I don't know, another 2 decades. So when he says something is different than what fans perceive, I certainly do listen. And we can sit here and critique the Boozer kid at Duke, who should have just thrown the ball into the air, right? But Antonio continuously tells me, you can sit there and strategize and sit in the film room and find ways to optimize those end of game situations, but until you actually participate in one, with the pressure of the moment, your inability to see the clock, especially when you're being double teamed in a corner, you can't hear your coach. Is it the right time for me to just throw the ball into the air and try and burn some time? Tries to go over the top, it gets deflected. It leads to one of the most memorable shots in college basketball history. But Antonio finished it up by saying, you can bet that kid will learn from this and probably never do that again. Or he'll find a way to navigate through that double team, then make the pass. And the same goes for what Paul George did at the end of the Sixers-Hornets game. There's only been one instance in the NBA, and that was Trey Jones at the Chicago Bulls, who got one of those rebounds, was about to fall out of bounds, and instead just threw the ball into the air, and the clock expired in a Bulls victory. It was so well executed that John Shire, the head coach of Duke basketball, showed it to his kids during a film session not all too long ago about how smart, and there's that Duke education, how smart of a play that was. And if we're ever in that same spot, we should be thinking about that too. Ironically enough, it happens to them, and they're on the wrong side of it. And ironically enough, do you happen to know what today is the anniversary of? 19 years since Michael Ruffin caught a full court inbounds pass from the Toronto Raptors. And he was thinking what I just spoke about the last 2.5 minutes. He catches that ball and understands there's only 3 seconds left. So I'm going to catch this ball and I'm going to throw it into the air before someone fouls me and the game's going to end. And he did it. Congratulations, Michael Ruffin, the Wizards win. That didn't happen. The ball slipped off his fingertips. And when he went to throw it into the sky, it just kind of like fluttered and it fell into Mo Pete's lap. Mo Pete hits a Hail Mary at the buzzer, and the Raptors go on to win that game. And ever since then, some teams have had PTSD about not wanting to replicate that moment to be the sequel, that I'd rather just hold on to it and shoot the free throws. It's the basketball equivalent of when a running back is wide open in the open field. If he takes a knee at the one, the game ends because the other team doesn't have timeouts. But if you score a touchdown, you go up by 2 possessions. You're still probably going to win, but it's not a guarantee. And that's what happened a couple of times this weekend. End of game strategies and situations will be the talking points, as they always are. If there was an end of game optimist out there, they would be making bank if they could find ways to get these teams to actually execute and deploy those tactics that they read, hear, and visualize so much in the film studies. But it's a whole different world when you're out there. I make it sound easy when it most certainly is not. Yes, Andrew, we are smoking on that Duke pack. Boy, was that a delicious hating opportunity yesterday. Oh, it's just so. And you know what's unfortunate, Drew, because you're my age? What's unfortunate is the younger kids did not grow up with Wojciechowski, Leitner, Cherokee Parks, these even JJ Redick, these extremely hateable 4-year Duke guys, Greg Paulus. Duke has always had those obnoxious star player athletes. Doesn't mean they're not good, they're just obnoxious. And what Duke has always represented as an institution and university, you combine that with the way that they play basketball, it makes them very hateable. But with the younger generation, they're used to Zion Williamson, Kyrie Irving, RJ Barrett, Paolo Banchero, Cooper Flagg. Like, Duke is cool to kids. And why wouldn't they find it cool when they have the coolest high school basketball players going there? You naturally start to fall in love with the program, and now all of a sudden you have a brand new fan base that was not alive for the history of why so many people despise Duke. And just understand something. If you are someone that likes Duke basketball but didn't go to the school, I can promise you those uppity private school kids are looking down about you and down at you and talking behind your back. That is as pompous. I say this with all sincerity. And yeah, I know I went to Carolina, but that is as pompous of a student body as it gets. Righteous. They are so hateable. And it confuses me when I see fans of Duke that didn't go there. Because do you know who you're associating yourself with? But they don't care as much about that anymore because the basketball players are incredibly cool. Thank you for letting me rant. Kyle in the chat says the Mavs went on a 30-0 run against the Young Thunder a few years back and still lost. I knew that the Mavs held the record previously. They lost that game. Carter says my 60 minutes bit was good yesterday. How do you know it was a bit? Maybe I was serious. I love 60 minutes. I just watched it before doing this show. But yes, it was a bit. And I get the damn Duke. Okay, hold on. Let me come back full screen for a second. Okay. So I'm trolling because I hate Duke. And the moment the final buzzer sounds, I tweet out, is Duke still a blue blood? Which I know is going to just drive them mad. Like, there's no better question to ask to rage bait than that. I had it loaded up. Just let that buzzer go off. I'm going to hit the tweet button and it's going to explode. And it did. The problem is people I actually like fall for this shit because they don't know that I'm trolling. I love Jay Williams. I've had a couple of conversations with him privately. I think he genuinely means well. And he's yet another example of a Duke guy that I'm forced to like because I meet them in real life. Like JJ Redick has always been good to me. Several instances of us either meeting, hanging out, or doing content together. And he's a good dude, but he was my arch nemesis growing up. And Jay Williams was the best player on those Duke teams. I'm like, Jay, please don't take the bait. Please don't take the bait. And I responded to him last night. And then I get sent this morning a screenshot of, what was it, First Take or Get Up or something. And they have my tweet on the damn screen on ESPN, is Duke still a blue blood? And they turn it into a whole segment. Stop falling for this shit. I didn't even do it with the intention to get onto television and troll them. They actually spent a segment talking about it. Of course Duke's a blue blood. The fuck? Blue blood has nothing to do with win-loss results. It was a troll tweet right after another troll tweet. People's have such low reading comprehension in 2026 that everything is taken literally. And you can say anything. It's so easy. I would stop doing it because it's so easy. But seeing how people respond to this shit, it's just, I look forward to pooping every day because I get to scroll the comments about how mad people are getting about this shit. Oh, Jay Williams tried to quote tweet me and bring these threats. So cringe. I don't think he was speaking to me specifically. I think he was just like, gotta watch First Take tomorrow because I'm gonna respond to this. That's good. I mean, that's show business. I have no problem with that. I'm just like, man, you know me, and you've been around long enough to know that this is obvious bait. And you're telling me your producers couldn't come up with something a little bit more interesting than is Duke still a blue blood? You have a show that is the most distributed program in sports television, like platformed and gassed with resources like First Take. Please don't stoop this low. But they did. Greg Paulus, the Syracuse QB. Let's go with that. Drew says, Duke will forever be my op. I'm like the Chappelle Show player hater of the year. You too are a man of culture. You know what it's like to have experienced those Duke teams, those Duke fans, those Duke people, all throughout the 90s and 2000s. They earned it. You ever seen the movie The Patriots? They're redcoats, and they earned it. Easily, yes. There are plenty of private schools in the country with pompous, vain, entitled student bodies. USC stands for University of Spoiled Children for a reason. Duke is the worst, worse than Harvard. Anyway. All right. I'm caught up on all your comments, but anything else you guys want to discuss? Sorry, I was looking for an opportunity to rant. It's always fun catching up on, because yesterday there was so much material. There was the Victor Wembanyama, a defensive play. Oh, don't even get me started. Oh, don't even get me started. And that spun into like a generation versus generation debate. So that those of you that don't know, the NBA published one of the worst tweets of all time. This one was almost as bad as the NFL was like was really gassing up Josh Allen, and they tweeted out that he had a tremendous arm punt when he threw an interception, and they were trying to spin it like it was a highlight. The NBA puts out this tweet where Taurean Prince like takes two dribbles and just stops with Victor Wembanyama guarding him, like the most basic basketball play you will ever see. it does not get any more basic of a defensive, moves his feet, gets in front. Torian Prince picks up his dribble and just passes it away. And the NBA account does capital letters Wemby with another one of his never minds, which, by the way, is a term that I've used several times this season to describe, but it doesn't matter. Another one of his never minds against the Bucks. And second paragraph reads, his defensive impact is nuts. Like, how many times during a game that Wemby does something much more impactful than that? Now, yes, his defense did result in Torian Prince like passing the basketball. Honestly, you should just let Torian Prince shoot. But the NBA like genuinely believing that they had caught a moment of brilliance, lightning in a bottle, and thought, we got to post this, led to, it's now up to 5 million views, this completely normal play video, because so many people realize what is happening here. So if you scroll the comments, of course, it's a bunch of OKC fans that are like, the glaze is out of control. They talk shit about Shea, but they're platforming Wemby. And now what the NBA has done is turned Wemby into this lightning rod of content because they are just all over his nuts. And I don't blame them because he's going to be the future face of basketball. I already consider him to be the most talented basketball player I've ever seen, considering his size. But fans are starting to see through the NBA. Like, anything he does, he can turn shit into gold. He can turn water into wine. And this is what happens when you start building a star up. Even the great Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was the most fun story ever, trying smoothies and daiquiris to ascending to MVP. He even shat on James Harden along the way. And now Giannis is, being torn down for whatever reason. That has been expedited now. I solely blame the NBA for, because they continuously hype up moments around Wemby and some of their other stars that are not highlights and not moments. And because I know, I speak with conviction on this topic, and it really upset a younger generation that considers there to be a stigma around like someone who runs a social media account for a major brand. There's always, if you read the comments, it's like, shut up, intern, like give it to the controls, give the sticks to an adult, please, when they do something cringe online. There's always this assumption that it's just a straight out of college individual, at least with the NBA specifically, because I've been to the Secaucus offices. I know how they run their content teams. The NBA teams themselves, some of these people running the accounts are like just barely no longer teenagers. And they do this for a reason, because they can speak Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and they're relating to a demographic and an audience that is looking for that type of content on those mediums. The NBA is not doing that shit on NBC, but they'll do it on TikTok. They'll say Steph Curry puts in his mouthpiece tough with a whole bunch of flame emojis, because TikTok has a much younger audience that relates to that type of caption and discourse. So I speak with conviction because I know the age demographics of a lot of people that are doing that job. And when you are an entry-level position shortly after college or one of your first real gigs, your default is always going to be to compliment players. You never want to be like, oh, watch. So if there's a cross, like a Wes Johnson, James Harden moment, for example, you guys remember that's one of the nastiest crossovers of all time. If that were to happen, the NBA's, the way that they would promote that content would be, what a crossover and step back from James Harden, while everyone else is pointing and laughing at Wes Johnson for being on his back and like picking himself up off the floor as James Harden buries him. They're always going to default to compliment and not expose, because you never want to undermine the value of one of your assets, one of your entities, which are players. If you make fun of them, if you call them out, if you shine them in a bad light, why do that when we can compliment what put them in a bad light instead? That is always the mindset of these social media coordinators. So everything that they post is always complimentary, borderline cringe, and at times can go over the line in regards to displaying a moment that is not worthy really of sharing. And then it starts to create diminishing returns. And then you start to insult your customers' intelligence. And people that don't support the San Antonio Spurs or Victor Wembanyama or have another dog in the fight are going to start to see how a certain player is being platformed, which means he's going to be treated differently by the referees. And it's just little moments like this. If there's enough examples in the sample size, you can consider it prolonged behavior. And I do believe there to be prolonged behavior of NBA social media accounts, not in a vacuum, not one-offs. There are many times where they highlight something that I feel is unnecessary, and they're only doing it because that player is so popular or it will draw reaction. It's fine for content creators separate from the brand to do that, but not the internal channels at the NBA. Because now when we get to the playoffs, people are going to remember, like, you guys gas up Wemby's everything. That's why Scott Foster is giving him, or Tony Brothers is giving him every single call down the floor. And I'm afraid because a lot of the people responsible for publishing the content on those channels are in a position where they are trying to make the most out of their opportunity themselves as an employee. They don't want to get fired. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to piss off their bosses. That if I'm told to highlight Wemby and say only compliments, that's what I'm going to do. It's more of just a editorial trickle-down effect. That the NBA is not alone in this regard. And I thought I did a decent job of articulating that point in my tweet. The problem is a younger person reads that and considers it a reinforcement of what they believed to be true, have thought could go otherwise. But if someone that is speaking on this with conviction and has either a platform or knowledge on it, now it makes me self-conscious of myself or my peers and my colleagues, that we're not all like that. And that's true. But when I have enough prolonged behavior and examples to share of shit like this happening, now you can understand why I had to make a point of it. That was a lot of ranting. Sorry, chat went quiet because I'm sure you guys were listening, but that is for anyone that thought my dissertation of a post yesterday, which it's always the one that riles people up, that goes viral. Like this one has 1.5 million views for no reason whatsoever. It is such a small topic, but people take it so personally because they feel he's talking about me. Most people on social media now are younger. They're Gen Z. The millennials have graduated mostly from social media. So now it's Gen Alpha and Gen Z. That's all I got. It's not going to stop me. My job is to be online. So until it's no longer my job, you can expect content, especially on topics that I do have knowledge on, such as that. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not true. You can yell all you want, and you can provide your own experience, but in totality, I know I nailed that. All right, chat, I'm back up in here. Big S Brain says, I'm a Laker fan and a Duke hater. I feel conflicted almost every day. Oh, pro sports have nothing to do with colleges. College sports. But, I mean, if you're a Yankees fan, a Lakers fan, a Duke basketball fan, an Alabama football fan, a New England Patriots or Kansas City Chiefs fan, like starting to pick up on some tendencies here. Any questions, comments, concerns in the chat? Sorry, whenever I rant, you guys go quiet on me. I am on my way to the airport here after the early games end. I'm on a red eye to New York for a bachelor party this weekend. But the good news is the next time that we do one of these shows, I will have a special guest. And that guest is Skip. Skip will be co-hosting with me on Wednesday, as I will be back in Connecticut for a couple of days. That's right. Skip is in the building. Skip? I knew Skip would get the chat going. Start the chat back up. He is so cute. The moment he sees me, it's going to be, he knows we are going to that field and I am going to run you into the ground. He loves galloping in this giant ass field in the middle of Connecticut. I take a paddle ball and I hit that thing as far as I possibly can. And it's so heavy, it bounces and bounces and bounces. And he gallops and gallops and gallops after it. It takes about 25 minutes for him to say, I quit. But boy, does he love it. We go for walks. We go for fetch. And then he repays me by sitting politely on camera as everyone says how cute he is. He is a very good boy. He is one of the best boys. I've been around a long time. He is one of the best boys I've ever encountered. Do you guys think I'm going to get to so I have one future that I really need. Believe it or not, I have the Brooklyn Nets. I have the Brooklyn Nets season win total over at 19.5. They're at 18. I need 2 more. Can I find 2 more wins on the schedule? I was watching Kings Nets yesterday like it was my game 7. Because if I had any chance of getting to 20, I needed that one yesterday, especially after dropping one recently in Sacramento. God, the Nets blew some game. Who did they blow it to? Detroit? Or they had one game that they really should have had. It was at home against somebody. Can I get to 20 wins with the Brooklyn Nets? That would be a huge swing for me. How's that Braves Stadium, by the way, Mike? Do you get the one that's up in Buckhead now? Is it different than Turner Field in, I'm sure, a lot of ways? Accessibility, amenities. It's probably gorgeous. And while it's gorgeous, may I be a boomer for a second? I love my baseball stadiums, old, creaky, and unrenovated. Dodger Stadium, what used to be Shea Stadium. I don't like the Yankees, but even the old Yankee Stadium had fucking aura. Wrigley. I love those classic stadiums that just all you do is watch baseball. Nothing else. When the Mets went from Shea to Citi Field, now they've got these Shake Shacks and so much shit to do, and there's fine dining all over the place. And I get why they did it, but I'm just such a traditionalist. I loved paying $8. That's what it used to cost for second level. Is that Battery, not Buckhead? Oh, I didn't know that. I trust you, Hoa, because you know everything. When I was growing up, I used to go to Mets games for $8. It was called Loge Reserved back row seating. So you would get the back two rows of the second deck, and there would be this huge overhang and obstructed view. But because the Mets, for the most part, weren't great, you could move around pretty much anywhere if it was a weekday game. So $8, you get to sit, a great view of the game, just locked in on baseball. They had a couple of like popcorn, hot dog stands, but there was nothing there. Beer, popcorn, and hot dogs. Maybe some nachos, maybe some ice cream. That's it. You're there for baseball. And I love that shit. Yeah, Petco, I mean, Petco is, I would say, Petco is the equivalent of the one in, is it still PNC Park in Pittsburgh? Even the one in Cincinnati, there's some great like scenic views. I wouldn't say they have the long history of some of the classics, but yeah, I'm definitely team, gorgeous views and different seating options too, because you can sit on the lawn at Petco. The Rockies, you can go do happy hour in the bleachers in the outfield. Even Cleveland has a duty-free store inside the damn stadium. Plenty of great places to go. I'm just speaking, I guess, more towards because Yankee Stadium doesn't count anymore. It's Wrigley, Dodger Stadium, and Fenway. It's the last standing structures of truly long time baseball venues. Battery is it's actually Smyrna. Oh, okay. Yeah. My mom used to live in Smyrna. T-Mobile Park, is that in Seattle? Got multiple T-Mobile Parks in the chat. I would say PNC has got to be the most scenic one of all. That was sensational. The team stinks and the stadium doesn't have much history. Do I have any action tonight? Asks Shaden. Not at the moment. So the Celtics and the Hawks, Jaylen Brown's in, Tatum's out. They're just switching. And Jaylen being from Atlanta, it explains why he's playing tonight. The Hawks are playing good ball, but I am hesitant to fade the Celtics in any situation. They're just relentless with their depth. Bulls, Spurs. You know what I like tonight? You're going to have to really hold your nose on it. But I do like a Victor Wembanyama under. I mean, this is just, everyone's been blasting overs. He's killing it. 26.5 in a game that's going to be an absolute massacre. Is it just one of those games where he scores 15, 11, 5 blocks, and just Mitch Johnson just kind of sits him? Sure feels like it. Or let someone else cook for a little bit. If you're looking for action, I'm going to fade Wemby and go under 26.5 at ProfitX. There's my pick. Well, if Wemby gets a triple-double, that's fine too, because that means 10 assists where he's not shooting. Jay Peasy says Coors Field has $3 beers before first pitch and $5 tickets at the rock pile. Oh, that's incredible. Who even cares about the team at that point? You're just going there after work to have like a nice night out. For a grand total of $8, I get a beer and a ball game. Easy sell. Easy sell. Oh, the $3 beers are before first pitch, and then I assume they jack it up. But still, you can go have a couple of pregame beers, leave in the sixth inning after the sun sets, beat the traffic, and go home. Like, that is such a fine night to me. I'm with you. That's my kind of night, JPZ. Especially if you don't have a dog in the fight, you can leave in the sixth and seventh inning and probably get home in no time. Well, Hilwick, who are the Mets playing? The Astros? Are they in Houston? Or are you traveling? If the Finners stumble tonight and Spurs get within... Oh, Thunder. Oh, yeah. Does my MVP race radar go off? Hey, Sims, thank you for bringing that up. So tonight, the Spurs are going to destroy the Bulls, and they're 18-point favorites. They keep winning. Oklahoma City has to deal with Detroit, but there's a reason why you see on your screen right here. The Thunder are 12-point favorites over the top team in the East. No Jalen Duren. No Cade Cunningham. No Tobias Harris. No Duncan Robinson. Now, it's no J-Dub and no Isaiah Hartenstein for the Thunder, but the Thunder are still double-digit favorites for a reason. In the event that Danis Jenkins and whomever plays for the Pistons tonight end up getting this victory, San Antonio is just, I guess, never going to lose again. They're just never going to lose again. And if that's the case, it will require, this is a consensus amongst the voters right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to win Most Valuable Player if the Thunder have the league's best record. If the San Antonio Spurs were to jump them in the standings, Victor Wembanyama could very, very well steal the MVP. Now, should the MVP be so tied directly to team performance? Not usually, but considering that there are 6 legitimate first-place candidates this year. I know Cade Cunningham is hurt, and he's probably not going to qualify, but there was a significant portion of this season where you could say, holy crap, that might be the MVP. The same could be said about Jaylen Brown and what he's done in Boston. They're likely not going to win, nor is Luka Doncic. Nor is Nikola Jokic, despite putting up 20-20-20 every fucking week. Jesus Christ. Now you have Wemby and Shai. You have 6 legitimate candidates that if you voted first place for any of those, I honestly, like, as long as you have an explanation and some fact-based opinionating, if that's even a word, I think you're well within your rights to nominate any of those 6. But for Wemby to get over Shai, it will require San Antonio to have the NBA's best record. And here's the problem, is that if Wemby jumps Shai, and now all of a sudden it's like, wait, Wemby could win, this gets Nikola Jokic back into the picture. Because Jokic has been effectively eliminated by Shai specifically. If Shai in OKC have the league's best record, Jokic cannot win. But if Shai drops from first, Jokic now all of a sudden could get all of those Shai votes instead of Wemby. If Denver finds their way back into the top 3 somehow, now we've got it. Now we in Shai, if it goes like this: San Antonio 1, OKC 2, Denver 3. I think Jokic could win it, because what it's going to take Jokic to get to 3 is what it's going to take Wemby to get the team up to 1. It'll be close. It won't be a guarantee. But yes, that is going to be what's required to usurp Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as the league's MVP. It doesn't look like San Antonio is going to lose a game anytime soon, nor does it to OKC. The Knicks gave them one hell of a fight last night, but they fell short. They ended up losing by double digits despite it being a 1-point game with less than 5 minutes left. Spurs Warriors on Wednesday in San Francisco. Giants Mets on Thursday. That's quite the trip, Helwick. Is that for work or just felt like going? haven't, believe it or not, I've never been to, used to be called Pac Bell. I don't know what it's called nowadays. Is it AT&T Field or something? I don't know why I left that off of the list on most scenic baseball stadiums. Covey Cove, that's gorgeous. Jay Peasy says the Nuggets are going to beat the Thunder April 3rd. I think the only team that can beat the Thunder is the Nuggets in the playoffs. I know the Spurs have had some success against them in the regular season, but I too do believe that the playoffs are a different sport. And I fear that San Antonio is headed the same way that OKC did the year before they won, where they had that, I don't want to say shockingly, but unanticipated exit against the Dallas Mavericks, who were just better at playing playoff basketball than they were. They exposed OKC's front line and inability to rebound. If there's ever adversity of injuries, suspensions, or disqualifications, like OKC is just so well equipped, as is Denver, for these moments. Jamal Murray, my God in heaven, does this guy ever miss like a tough, need it or we die type of shot? That dude is so fucking clutch. And there is no better duo in the game today, not even close, when it comes to cohesion between the two. Jalen and Jason aren't running pick and pop, pick and roll action the way that Jokic and Murray are. Their entire offense is based on what they do when that ball crosses half court together as a collaboration. It's mutualism. Murray and Jokic, man, have been fucking nails. And now that they're starting to get healthy, Peyton Watson's coming back, Aaron Gordon is back, Cam Johnson's found his jumper. You could argue they should have beaten the Thunder last year if Aaron Gordon wasn't hobbling around on 1.5 legs. Steve says the Spurs have trailed for a total of 16 seconds in their last 4 games, never trailed in the last 47 minutes of those games, led by 28 plus each time. That's some fucking bloodbaths right there. Granted, their opponents are terrible, but there's 10 teams in the NBA right now that are just guaranteed losses unless they play each other, like Kings versus Nets yesterday. How long do we think that fabric between the thumb on the wrist brace disintegrates? Got a long way to go, Carly. It's been on my wrist since I bought this in 2000 and I moved to LA. I bought it because I was working so much on my first apartment patio in LA. So I'm going to say 2013. It's been on my wrist since 2013. So 13 years. Still got Luka and SGA head-to-head 2 more times this season. Oh, hello. OKC's had a pretty tough schedule, man. Playing against Boston, the Knicks, San Antonio gets Chicago. Do I think your Heat will, when healthy, should start Hero or Powell? Tyler Hero is, man, that offense is so fucking unoriginal, uninspiring. And they tried early in the season to just push the pace. And now I see why. Because other than Jaime Jaquez Jr., who the fuck on that team can create their own shot? Norman Powell is the answer. Tyler's just been so like slow and is Jamal Murray first team All NBA or is that crazy? It's crazy because the 5 MVP candidates are going to be first team. Jalen, Luka. Remember, there's no position. So it's Jalen, Luka, Jokic, Wemby, and Shea. Second team All NBA is going to be Brunson. Well, Cade doesn't qualify, so Brunson. Just got to make sure I'm going through all the damn How many eligible Durant? How many eligible players? every time I think of someone, they're not eligible. Can't be Giannis. Yeah. Is Jamal Murray going to make second team All NBA? Second or third? Kawhi? Kawhi is definitely on there. Jalen Johnson? Ugh. These are all NBA teams, man. And the problem for the Pistons, by the way, is with Cade Cunningham potentially missing out on All NBA, it's going to open up yet another spot, which means Jalen Duren could potentially sneak onto the third team, which means he's going to be eligible for $50 million because he made an All NBA team. And now the Pistons have to structure their cap around two guys about to make either supermax or rookie max extension money. We've had a 4-seed or lower in every conference final since 2020. Who does it this year? Good question. Sixers. First one who come to mind. Sixers. Who in the West? You said 4-seed or lower. Well, I mean, like the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, depending on where they finish, but Timberwolves and Nuggets, yeah. 3 candidates. Apartment on fire. First thing Wob grabs is the wrist brace. And an item which Mrs. Wob is very displeased with at the moment. I have a plantar fasciitis boot that I wear when I sleep. And for reasons I don't need to discuss, the boot is much maligned. She even used the line that Princess Diana used. There's 3 of us in this marriage. And the boot is the 3rd. But the wrist brace is the booty call. What would I grab if there was an apartment fire? I would have to take my laptop no matter what. Grab the laptop. Grab the wrist brace. The boot can be replaced. It's not molded to me like the wrist brace is. Well, it's Brunson, Murray, Kawhi, Jalen Johnson. I still can't figure out who the 5th player on that second team is going to be. Devin Booker. Does Devin Booker have enough games? Is he going to qualify? LaMelo? Because Duren goes on the 3rd team. Scotty Barnes? B.I.? The jersey's behind me? Oh, grab these on the way out. I would take, well, you guys can't see it, but I have a personalized New Orleans Hornets jersey from 2009. That's a signed Walt Clyde Frazier right here, so I should grab that one. And I mean, I want to grab the Tracy McGrady. I'll just grab them all. They're all important. Tim Carney says, bring back free speech. I stand with Jaden Ivey. You should learn how to spell speech first, at least. Speech is usually better when the grammar's correct. Oh, shit, there's games on, I think. Sixers Heat just tipped off. What else? Celtics Hawks is at 4:30. We don't really start hitting it. Some late games on tonight. Oh, Lakers Wizards without Luka. Oh my God. No Sar either. Jesus. No thanks. I'll be on a plane. I probably won't. I'll have Wi-Fi and I still won't watch. That's a lie. All right, friends. Well, if you're out of questions, I'm out of answers. I'm going to go make some quick dinner. I'll be headed to the airport in a couple of hours, and then I'll be back in New York as soon as the sun rises. Be on the radio tomorrow from New York. And then Wednesday, I'll be back with Skip. If there's a police chase, I'll have Skip next to me too. He just doesn't like the yelling. Anytime someone raises their voice, even if you're not yelling, he kind of cowers. He's such a little sissy, but he's so cute. Anyway, inflate. No, I'm on JetBlue. JetBlue. I do JetBlue because they have TV, live TV, not just like archived movies and shows, actual channels, and also free Wi-Fi. I would only recommend JetBlue though if you're flying between at least one of their hubs, which are Fort Lauderdale, JFK, and LA. Any other JetBlue, you're running the risk of them canceling some shitty plane. But New York to JFK is their most popular route, so you get these gorgeous new planes, and it's where they dedicate all their resources. I'm on Delta on the way back. United doesn't give the crossword Sudoku books anymore. Well, they're coming out with those, turning a row into a bed. You can buy the whole row. I'm sure they're going to jack up the prices for those seats, but that was a nice little invention. Did you fly Spirit and only fly with a backpack? Because if you do it that way, Spirit is actually economically advantageous. They have some great deals if you don't check a bag. I can get from LA to Vegas for $39 on Spirit, but it has to be a trip where you're like going back and forth in the same day. Otherwise, I'm usually checking a bag for an extended stay. And if you fly 6 a.m. flight, the chances of what makes Spirit terrible with their lack of human resources and crews, and 6 a.m. the plane is at the gate waiting for you. So you don't have to worry about any of that shit. I'm always up for a good deal. You're speaking with the master of air travel. So if you ever have any questions, I'm happy to provide my years of experience and consult you for free. All right, I'm going to get up out of here. Thanks, guys, for taking the time today. That was a quick hour. A lot of yapping. Time flies when you're yapping. GG's in the chat. See you guys on Wednesday. Deuces.